Warning: mature content. The following stream contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences, including mature themes, strong language, and potentially sensitive material. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey, J-Bo Nation! Shaming of Jay. He's not a dopey dumb bitch. He gets laid. The court jester, the court DJ. It's time to dive into the case. To the case.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Friday. It is Friday. It is Feral Friday. Got my Feral Friday uniform on. And we're going to continue with the rewatch of Charlie Adelson's trial. And if you missed it, Bob is going to jail, folks. So just for a visit. But he's not going to be available this afternoon. So I will be at 12:30 streaming the closings of the Robert Tellis trial, if you want to check that out. Also, Robert Tellis has some rebuttal, I believe, testimony that he can provide. So I'm going to end this before that, obviously, take a little lunchski, and then I'll be back at 12:30 Eastern to catch the closings of Robert Tellis and his rebuttal. That dude is out of his mind. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Hey, Jen. Hey, Meg. Hey, Julie. Kim, Jerry, Jennifer. I got to thank Baby Bo, Madeline, who sent me a $15 Venmo last night and said she enjoyed the Adelson rewatch. And then Red and Right bought me a coffee this morning and said, living my best life, waiting to see every single Adelson pay for what they did to Dan, his parents, sister, and his boys. Great job, Jay. Thank you so much, Red and Right. Good morning, Jen D, Amy, the Royal We, Kim Delorme, Pammy, Debbie, Meg P, Julie Frew, Brad is here, Ann, Kim, Hello Spring, Debbie Blair, Deja, Angie, Marissa, Annie. Sorry, I can't get everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. Carmel, Pammy, Lily Pauly, Joni Flagger, Anne Marie, Angel Baby, Taryn, Riverdale Pilates. Good morning. Dawn, Phillips, Joanne. Thanks for being here. Christy Marie, my mom is here. Kai. Guys, had a big news on my Instagram, folks. Big news on my Instagram. Carol's present. I had a celebrity, a sports celebrity, follow me on the gram. He doesn't follow a lot of people. He followed me, and I'll give you guys some hints. And maybe the first person that guesses it, I'll send out some stickers. I'll give some hints. Who wants to guess who the sports celebrity was that followed me on the gram? Possibly accidentally. He doesn't follow that many people. He has a lot of followers. Who wants to play a guessing game? And the first person that guesses, I'll send out some stickers. Hey, Michelle. All right. Oh, thank you. Yes, and I hit Dr. J. I wish. That would be amazing. Not Dr. J. Wrong sport. I'll give you hello, Lego person. I'll give you, hey, Angie. Thank you, 21K. That was pretty cool. I hit that yesterday. I didn't say anything because I wait till I get a few over it so they don't lose it. Hey, Michelle. Not someone on the Mets. All right, my mom asked a good question. Which sport? Football. Football is the sport. Football is the sport. I'll give you that hint. I'll give you this hint. Not Tim Tebow. He is retired. He is, I believe, in the Hall of Fame. I'm fairly confident he's in the Hall of Fame. Football in the Hall of Fame. Not Aaron Rodgers. Retired football Hall of Fame wide receiver. Wide receiver. Thank you, Joanne. Wide receiver. No, Travis is not retired. Wide receiver. I'll go even further. He's a commentator. Not Jason Kelsey, not Bo Jack. He's a commentator. Wide receiver. Wide receiver. Wide receiver. Not Jason Kelsey. Wide receiver, guys. You guys are never going to get this. Wide receiver. Wide receiver. You guys are never going to get this. All right, Jersey got a wide receiver. 7 is on track with ex-Cowboy. 7 is on track. 7 is on track with ex-Cowboy. Babe, do I need anything from... Good guess, wide receiver, though, Pammy. Wide receiver. Babe, do I need anything from Target? Thin sliced chicken cutlets, babe, please. And olive oil. Not Jerry Rice. Good guess. Not Shannon Sharp. Dallas is correct. Wide receiver. Retired. Wide receiver, guys. Romo's wide receiver. Chris Collinsworth, good guess. But no, I don't think he was on the Cowboys. He played... Oh, Jennifer Adams. The big winner. Jennifer Adams. Michael Irvin, folks. For some reason, Michael Irvin followed me on Instagram. Jennifer, email me the shaming of Jay at and breadcrumbs, babe. If we need seasoned breadcrumbs, babe, Italian 4C seasoned breadcrumbs. Jennifer Adams, big winner. Email me the shaming of Jay at gmail.com. Jennifer Adams, the shaming of Jay at gmail.com. I don't know why he followed me. Perhaps it was a mistake, probably a mistake. But Michael Irvin, I went through my followers. I'm like, why? Who is this verified account? I don't have many verified followers. And indeed, it was Michael Irvin. Babe, did you hear my order? Did you hear my order? It's very important. Oh, we need eggs too, babe. Babe, did you hear my order? And for confirmation, for those who don't believe me, Squadushel, there it is. Michael Irvin, and who's there? Over Quavo and Tarantino and me, your boy. Your boy. For some reason, Michael Irvin, 88, following your boy. So it's only a matter of time before he unfollows me. But nonetheless, very cool that I got that. What else? You guys want to know the biggest follow I got on Twitter, and then she got annoyed and unfollowed me? I think she got annoyed because she unfollowed me. Oh, let me tell you, this was my first time on Twitter when I was telling dumb jokes. Anne-Marie Moyer with a $15 Venmo. Thank you so much, Anne-Marie Moyer. If we don't have 4C, don't even worry about it, babe. It's okay. I can get it another time. You don't have to go to Stop and Shop. Yeah, Shannon Shaming is a saint. That's true. That's true. You don't have to go. But if you're making chicken cutlets, if you're not getting 4C Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, what are you doing with your life? The Twitter follower who followed me on my first account when I was telling dumb jokes and I lost my mind, and then she unfollowed me, was Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy Teigen, though she never retweeted me. All right, let's continue with the Charlie Adelson rewatch. I got my Shake Shack Team Fries hat on. My Shake Shack Team Fries hat on. Yes, Amy knows, the only breading at J-Bo Nation. 4C, sponsor me, you cowards. Sponsor me, you cowards. 4C. Do it. I got my Shake Shack hat, and I got my Shake Shack. I feel like the kids with this big-ass water bottle, my Shake Shack water bottle. So thanks for being here, everybody. We're going to continue the rewatch, and we have Dan Markel's divorce attorney, Stephen Webster, who is an excellent witness. Babe is humble bragging that Jose Bautista has followed her for like a decade. Babe is humble bragging. So we are going to changed everything, right? Spiteful Pelican, the best. Shake Shack, the best. All right, here we go. Stephen Webster, Dan's divorce attorney. Good morning. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Here we go.
You had a restful break. We are going to resume with the state's case at this time. Please call your next witness.
They call Stephen Webster.
You can take your foot.
Jose Bautista is he's a baseball player. Used to be on the Blue Jays, played on the Mets, Pirates. Babe is just bragging, not humble bragging. She's not, no humility, straight up bragging.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
You may take your seat.
Thank you, Judge.
Please introduce yourself and spell your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Webster, Stephen Webster.
How are you employed?
I'm an attorney.
How long have you been a member of the Florida Bar?
Since 2005.
Did you represent Dan Markel?
I did.
During what time period did you represent him?
I think it was May of 2014 and until he was murdered.
And during the time that you were, let me ask you, before his murder, when was the last time you had spoken with him?
I spoke to him that morning.
Right. And what was the main goal of your representation of Mr. Markel?
So I had just started my firm, and you know, like any small business, you're scared and you're hungry, and a friend of mine called me, Tor Friedman, and said, I have a client for you. And I was like, okay. And he said he's a law professor. And I was like, okay. And he said it's a family law case. And I said, well, Tor, I don't do family law, and you know that. And he said, well, it doesn't matter. He's a law professor. He'll teach you everything you need to know. And I said, okay, well, that makes sense. So I agreed to meet with him. And the night before, I read all the papers, and they were voluminous. I printed them and actually read every word. And we'd already set up a meeting at Voodoo.
Hey, Zippy 2020 from the UK. Welcome. We have many people from the UK. Welcome. And good afternoon to you, sir.
Do coffee on Tennessee Street, and I really didn't think I was going to accept the case. I could just tell from the...
Good morning, Katrina. I've been watching Wendy's Going Down series. It is great. Thank you, Katrina. Good morning, Dizzy. All right, I'll stop pausing. Sorry.
The tenor of the papers, that it was really, really contentious, and it just didn't feel like something I probably wanted to get involved in. But I wanted to meet him anyway. And so I met him, and I liked him. I liked him a lot. And so I decided I would take the case. I mean, it's not a prerequisite that I like you to represent you. But in something like that, I didn't want to get involved in a contempt type case with law professors, where ultimately it could end up being disrespectful to the court, and I didn't want to be involved in something like that if I really felt like it was going to be that kind of a relationship. But when I met him, I didn't feel like it was going to be that way, and so I agreed to take it. And his primary concerns were he wanted to get more time with his children, if at all possible, but he didn't want to change the kind of the time sharing. He had a kind of an unusual request. He wanted to see if there was any way that he could see the children every night when he didn't have them, to tuck them into bed and kiss them goodnight. And he said, look, I'll only stay 5 minutes. I promise I won't bother anybody, and I'll leave. And I said, Dan, that's probably never going to happen. That's just probably not reasonable.
Real quick, Anne-Marie says, Jay, can you talk to that if Lewis had been arrested when they pulled him over, the murder would not have happened because he was on the FBI no interference list. It didn't happen. You know, Anne-Marie, I'll tell you this. I knew he was arrested. I knew he was pulled over. I was not aware that he was on the FBI no interference list, and that's why they didn't arrest him. I was not aware of that. So that's new info to me. But yeah, he was. If you folks don't know, they were pulled over driving down for speeding, I believe. I mean, they were doing coke and drinking the entire drive. But they got I think they got a ticket for speeding. I forget what happened, but they did not, in fact, get arrested that trip. But that's new to me. So thanks for the information, Anne Marie.
And then he was really concerned about parental alienation, which at the time I wasn't, really familiar with it. I didn't do family law, but I was familiar with it from the perspective of I learned about it in law school and stuff like that. But he was really concerned that the grandmother, Donna Adelson, was really trying to drive a wedge between him and the children. And he actually told me that he heard her refer to him as stupid on a Skype call. He couldn't see her in the Skype screen, but he heard her say something to the effect of "stupid's on the phone," and he was livid about it, and he was ready to basically kind of go to war over that.
Did that sort of reference the filing that we're familiar with, where Grandma says you're stupid, and he was seeking to have Grandma enjoined from having unsupervised contact with the kids?
Yeah, and I didn't have the opportunity to actually talk to him about that yet because he was killed. But it was my understanding that after that filing, he heard her. Actually, he heard her, because that's what he told me. He said, I heard her call me stupid, but she wasn't in the screen, but he knew her voice. And so he was very upset about that. And then the other thing that he was upset about, he wanted the Holocaust diamond back.
Some property of his, family property that Wendy had.
Yeah, and he wanted that back.
All right, so what about money? Was he worried about money?
No.
Any chance that the case could have been resolved through $1 million payoff to Dan Markel from the Adelsons?
In exchange for what?
A relocation?
No.
We've heard some testimony that everything was going well between Dan Markel and Wendy in the few weeks leading up to his death. Do you have any knowledge of that fact?
It's untrue. There's a reason he hired me. He didn't retain me because he needed a friend. Tor basically told me on the phone call, he said, look, there's going to be a trial, and it's going to be acrimonious, and he needs a lawyer that can go into the courtroom and be prepared to fight.
Yes, Taryn. Dan gave Wendy a Holocaust diamond. I believe it was Lazar, but someone correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it was his uncle Lazar's Holocaust diamond that Wendy had. And per the Greenbergs, if you saw that police interview, she wouldn't give it back. And then she's like, well, if he asked for it, I'll give it back. He asked for it, and they say no. And she never gave it back. A Holocaust diamond from the Markels that Wendy never gave back.
He said that's why.
That's the type of person you're dealing with here.
I think you could handle this case. And we were heading towards a trial. And he certainly, he sent me an email the day before talking about how he was irate because Wendy, unbeknownst to him, had actually enrolled or applied to have been enrolled at the School of Arts and Sciences. And she didn't even talk to Dan about it. So he found out that...
So there you go. Dan had no idea that Wendy enrolled his son in this school, and that's why the other video I released was the gentleman from the school who Dan was on the phone with. Dan was literally on the phone with the guy from that school trying to figure out if it was a good school because Wendy just enrolled and didn't ask him.
The day before when he got called from the school saying that Ben had been accepted. And so he emailed me and said, I'm irate about this. He said, I don't think it's appropriate. Okay. So, no.
So there were a bunch of issues still going on.
Yes.
It was hot at the time.
Yes.
All right. And there was some suggestion that Dan Markel was expected to lose all the filings that were currently pending at the time of his death, and Wendy was expected to prevail on everything. Do you agree with that assessment?
You mean like with the contempt and all of that?
Yeah.
No, I would not have got involved if I thought he was going to lose on the contempt. My reputation travels with my clients too if they're doing things like that, right? If you're representing a client who is disrespecting the court, it's hard not to feel like that's bleeding off on you and you're disrespecting the court. And in Tallahassee, Florida, if you practice in this circuit, if I disrespect Judge Everett today, every judge in this circuit that matters to me is going to know about it before lunch tomorrow. And it's just no. So no, I would not have accepted. That's why I didn't think I was going to take the case when I read all that.
And seeking contempt is kind of a big deal amongst lawyers, right?
Yes, I mean, contempt is, it's an ugly. It's a very ugly kind of prospect. And as a lawyer, that was one of my main concerns. Is she was a lawyer, and I did feel like she should be held in contempt. She didn't disclose things on her financial affidavit, and Dan convinced me of that.
But that was to be determined, right?
But
by a court.
Yeah.
So this is the type of stuff that Wendy can't wiggle out with use immunity or derivative immunity if there is a charge against her. This is an attorney who could testify at Wendy's trial, who can say that there was stuff that Dan filed that would be very damaging to Wendy if they proceeded with the divorce hearings. That Wendy can't get out of that. No, I don't care what Wendy says. I don't care if that this is motive. It was there's motive for Wendy to want Dan dead, because those if she was hiding money, which he just said Dan convinced him that could have led in sanctions. That's motive right there. And this is an independent witness of Wendy. They don't need her testimony for that, along with Jeff Lacasse and others. So Wendy's not out of the woods like a lot of people may think. Maybe not a lot of people, but good morning, Wesley. Good to see you.
Yes, but in my mind,
yes,
that was the only reason I took it.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, you can lose your law license for that. I mean, I guess you would have to report that to the bar. I didn't research it, but the court would refer it to the bar. If the court found you were in contempt, the court would refer it to the bar, and you could lose your law license. So yeah, it's pretty serious, in that regard.
We heard, I think, from both sides in opening that Mr. Markell was brilliant, but I'm not sure anyone that actually knows about that has told us. Do you have any knowledge of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was why I decided to take the case. I liked him. He was actually funny. He had good humor about it. Even kind of as acrimonious as all of this was, the big picture stuff he didn't have any anger. He was angry about the calling him stupid. That made him angry. But I think in his mind, eventually a lot of this stuff would resolve and should resolve. He wasn't vindictive, or vengeful, and that was a big part of the reason why I was willing to get involved. I felt like he was kind of looking at it like a business deal still, with the exception of the stupid comment. So he was funny, and I mean, obviously smarter than I am, that's for sure. So,
what are a lawyer's ethical obligations to a client in terms of the client knowing what is in the filings that are being filed on their behalf?
By the way, this was the first trial he was called in, which just leads me to believe they're getting closer and closer to Wendy. He wasn't called in the first two trials, but when it was Charlie's trial, he's there. And I bet he'll be there for Donna's, and he'll certainly be there if there's a trial for Wendy.
Well, I mean, I think that depends.
It's not an expert.
Good morning, Pokemon, Reba, Irene, Patty Cat, Old Pueblo, Hops, Wesley, Pammy, Coach Juror. Good Friday morning, everybody. It occurred to me this morning that as I've been streaming, I kind of lose track of the work week, because it's not like I have a regimented schedule. I mean, I kind of have a schedule based on the courts, but when I start my job again, I'm going to be starting thinking about looking for the weekend and stuff.
Are all attorneys in Florida governed by the rules of professional conduct?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you, as a 20-year lawyer, familiar with those rules?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what are those rules in reference to? Can a lawyer put things in a filing that the client doesn't know about or not?
You have a duty to keep your client informed. That is an actual affirmative duty on every lawyer.
That you have to be in contact with your client, keep them informed of important events that are going on in the case. There are certain decisions that only the client can make, like whether to testify, things like that. But there are certain decisions that a lawyer can kind of make, procedural decisions on filing certain things. But you have a duty to keep your client informed of important events.
If Dan Markel was planning to move or seeking to relocate himself at the time of his murder, would you have known about that?
Yes.
And was he planning to do that or trying to do that?
Absolutely not.
One moment, please, Your Honor.
Sorry, I said coach juror, but it's couch juror. Sorry. Jen asked a good question. Do you think Georgia is waiting for the boys to be older before they charge Wendy, or think it will be after Donna? I don't think it has anything to do with the boys' age. I mean, if you think about, Katie and Sigfredo, their kids are very young. I think if they had enough evidence or they had what they needed, they would have done it. My belief is it's after Donna. They're going to use her for Donna's trial, and it's after that. That's just my speculation. I don't know, but I don't think it's that she's waiting for them to be like older. I think she's waiting for Donna's trial, and then after that. That's just my opinion.
Further questions?
Cross-examination. Very good.
Good afternoon, Mr. Webster.
Good afternoon.
You started representing Professor Markel in, I think you said May 2014, around that time frame?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
By the way, at that point in time, what did...
Deja, the amazing mod Deja, gifting out 5 memberships. Deja, thank you so much for your support. Welcome to the new members: Katie S., Patty Cat, Rosemary Romero, Jen D., Shelly Beans. Get your custom emojis, Capri Suns in the chat. Hey Donna White, good to see you. Just an FYI, if you're a lurker, which is fine, we love our lurkers, and you never get gifted a membership, I think it's because potentially, I think from what I understand, gifted memberships go to people who are active in the chat, or they go to them first. That's what I understand. It could be wrong. Yes, you are, Patty Cat. You just got it from Deja, so now you have the custom emojis. Also, make sure, I'm going to share a link here. Make sure you click that you allow to receive gifts, because if you don't have that, you can receive gifts. You'll never receive them. So click on that link and make sure you have it clicked to yes, that you can receive gifts. Just a little FYI.
Did you specialize in? Were you a divorce lawyer?
No.
Had you ever done a divorce case?
I mean, I had done some, like I've worked for other firms, and but for the most part, if I was going to take it, me personally, it would have to be no kids involved, and one of those situations where the assets were already agreed upon how they were going to be split up. I didn't want to get involved in fighting in cases where kids were going to get hurt. It's not how I wanted to use my law license.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for talking over you. What did you specialize in?
I mean, as an attorney, I don't think I'm allowed to say I specialize in anything unless I'm board certified. So I'm not board certified in anything.
What did you? What type of work did you do more of?
At that point in my career, I'd primarily done a lot of criminal defense work.
Okay. So you were a criminal defense lawyer who was going to do a divorce case?
Yeah. I guess that's fair to say.
Were you aware that Professor Markel's previous lawyer had quit?
I saw in the filings that lawyers had withdrawn, and yeah.
And you never went to court with Professor Markel, right?
No, he got killed before I had my chance.
You're aware that the court admonished Professor Markel in court.
Oh man, Donna White, the most amazing. Donna White, $210 Venmo, 21K, and Michael Irvin, big time. Donna, you're the best. Your support is just always so amazing. Thank you so much, Donna.
Earlier in the year, right?
I don't know if I was familiar with that. I read the papers. If it was in the papers, I mean, look, it appeared to me that it was very acrimonious, and there were lengthy pleadings and filings, and it was one of the things I talked to Dan about. I said, you need a lawyer. You need to stop drafting voluminous pleadings, and we need to just get this on the rails and focus on what matters.
Okay. Ms. Kappelman asked you about court filings and the ethics of lawyers. You recall her asking you that?
Yes, sir.
sometimes you file things. You have to keep your clients informed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you file things, and you're able to file things that you don't have to go over every word with your client, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
No further questions.
Redirect examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Webster, you missed that down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good morning,
Released, Your Honor.
Zach Sawyer from New Jersey, Heather Lemmer, and Jennifer Adams. Don't forget to email me if you're comfortable sending your address to get you some stickers. Good morning, Blair. Good morning, Alexandra. Irene Heather. Young Black Economist. Mad Wabbit. Old Playboy Hops. I forget who I say. Helen Steiner, Chloe and Sally, Tracy Smith. Good morning, everybody. Catherine, Catgrow. Holly Berry in the house. Holly Berry.
It calls June Umchinda.
Oh boy. June Umchinda. June Umchinda. I'm gonna keep this going. June Umchinda literally gets lost in the court. I actually let me take that back. I say literally. I think she gets lost because they can't find her. Watch this. June Umchinda, Charlie's ex-girlfriend. Good question, Katie S. I am streaming today on this probably till around 11. Then I'm taking a break. Then at 12:30, I am switching. I am covering Robert Tellis' closing statements. Bob is in jail for a visit. So at 12:30, Robert Tellis has his rebuttal, which will be something, and then closing statements. So I'll be on pretty much all day. Just a little break in between this and the Robert Tellis. June, where are you, June? Come on down. Oh, is that what it was, Lindsay? She was in the bathroom getting ready? See, they're all waiting for her. And then watch, you guys are not, it's what happens when she testifies is pretty funny too.
Yeah.
Can't find June. Where's June? Yes, I believe we do have the redirect narrative, Dizzy, so maybe he'll tell us about, who knows? If you guys missed it, Tellis says he's 6'5", and he wears lifts on the stand yesterday, amongst other nonsense. So Larry knows what he'll be saying on the stand today. And then the closings.
Members of the jury, we're going to take a brief break at this point.
They're taking a break because they can't find her, I believe. So let me just fast forward this. Oh.
How long do you think it'll take Mr. Newland to find her?
Gotta go to all the ladies' rooms. We'll advise the bailiff as soon as we have it ready, Chad.
They have to go to all the ladies' rooms.
All right. All points bulletin on the next witness.
Gotta love Judge Webster. Takes it in stride.
We'll be in recess at least until 1:50.
I have a request from the jury that when the projector is not needing to be used, turn off. It's causing...
All right, here she comes. Yeah, I think you're right, Deja. I think he's 5'5", not 6'5". Oh, son of a bitch. I hate when this happens.
Did you enjoy your tour of the courthouse?
Hold on, I'll fix this.
I've been here like twice before.
Hold on, I'll fix this. I hate when this happens. Squadushel, there we go. Oh, still not. There we go. Why don't I hear anything, though?
It had been...
It will be the truth.
I do.
Enjoy your tour of the courthouse? Did you enjoy your tour of the courthouse?
I've been here like twice before. Getting used
You may.
Fix your collar, dope. You stupid dope.
Yeah. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
You may take your seat.
Please state your name and spell your name.
Hi, I'm June. I'm Chinda. It's June, first name, last name Umchinda.
You don't have to. I don't think you're going to have to lean that close to the microphone.
Okay.
We can let you know if we can't hear you.
All right. Like that.
Where do you live, ma'am?
I'm in South Florida.
Do you know Charlie Adelson?
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. It was my alarm to come down here.
Meg P.
Yeah.
Amazing
Okay.
mod.
Wait,
$21
let me just check if
Venmo.
it's I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I don't want it to snooze. Okay.
Thank you, Meg P. And don't say sorry. It's not more. Wait, Meg P. Meg P. $21 Venmo from Meg P. Congrats on 21K. Sorry, it's not more, as you deserve it. I appreciate it all. So, Meg P., you are the best. Thank you so much.
Do you know Charlie Adelson?
I do.
How do you know him?
He's my ex-boyfriend.
Do you see him here in the courtroom?
I do.
Could you please point him out and describe what he's wearing?
He's the middle one there with the navy blue suit on.
The record reflect the witness has identified.
Honestly, it's just his fucking smart. Like, he's just not taking this shit seriously. Like, I don't care that it's your ex-girlfriend. I don't care that her phone's going off. Every day, if I was in there and it was a murder trial where I could potentially go to the jail for the rest of my fucking life, I just don't think I'd be laughing. Maybe I would. I would be, like, so fucking nervous. This guy's just smirking, thinks it's funny.
The defendant.
The record will reflect.
When did you date Mr. Adelson?
We initially met in, I think it was like February or so, and then
February of what year?
2015.
Okay.
And we didn't speak for about 8 months. We just had like a brief meeting, and then in October we officially started dating.
October of 2015?
Yes.
And how long did you date him?
For roughly 2.5 years, like officially.
Okay. Does June of 2017 sound like the correct end of your relationship?
Officially, yes.
All right. And did you continue to talk to Mr. Adelson after the breakup?
We did.
When was the last time you spoke to Mr. Adelson?
A day or so before his arrest.
Okay.
We were playing phone tag, and I was supposed to see him. We didn't see each other for a long time, but I was supposed to see him. I didn't get to, and then I wrote him back. I saw a message from him, and then the next day he was taken away.
All right. So when that's obviously significantly after the official breakup.
Oh, right. This was in April of last 2022.
What was the nature of your relationship after the official breakup? Were you kind of on again, off again, or just casually seeing each other when you were both single, or what was the deal there?
I mean, it was a lot of years that went by after our official relationship, so there were like different periods of times where we were seeing each other and then casual, but we always stayed in touch throughout the years. So.
All right. And do you still have feelings for Mr. Adelson as we sit here today?
So he's my last serious boyfriend, so I would say yes, that there's something still there. I care about him, but obviously I haven't seen him in God knows how long. So.
All right. And do you recall being interviewed by the Tallahassee Police Department in reference to this case on July 24th, 2018?
I do.
Okay. And back at that time, when you were interviewed, it had been about 2 weeks since you had talked to him. Does that ring a bell?
Something like that, yes.
Okay. And you had talked to him prior to that interview around your birthday, is that right?
On the phone, yes.
And when is your birthday?
June 28th.
Okay. So is that was prior to, obviously prior to his arrest, but just a few months before the trial of Catherine Magbanua? Did you talk to him then as well?
I'm not. I don't recall when her trial was. I know she had a retrial, so.
Okay.
I don't know the date specifically.
Okay, but in one of those trials, didn't you testify that you had spoken to him just the night before that trial?
Right. I mean, we were still talking, so yes, I did speak.
Okay, so I'm just kind of trying to establish, in reference to the important dates of this case, you seem to have had some communication with him pretty close in time to those important dates. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. But you haven't had any contact with him in reference to what you're going to say here today?
No, not since he got arrested. I haven't heard from him.
Okay.
Joanne, Jedi Platypus, $22 Venmo. $22 because we all know you'll be hitting 22K soon. Congrats on 21K. Thank you as always, Joanne. Almost every day, always supporter, Mr. and Mrs. Jedi. We love you guys. Thank you so much, Joanne.
Were you dating him when what we're calling the bump occurred back on April 19th of 2016?
Yes.
And are you familiar with what we mean when we say the bump?
Is that the money extortion thing from...
The thing when Donna Adelson was approached
Yes.
by an undercover officer? Okay, so how far into your relationship with him were you at the time that occurred? And that's, again, April 19th of 2016.
About a year, roughly, I would say.
All right. But you began dating officially
from October, so that's not a year. It's
more like 6 months?
Yeah.
What was the status of your relationship? Or can you kind of describe for us what your relationship was at that time, April of 2016?
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to think of the dates again. So the bump was 2016, you said, in April?
Yes, ma'am. So this would be about 6 months into your relationship. Were you seeing each other seriously? Were you seeing a lot of each other? Tell us about that.
Every day, yeah.
Every day, okay. And have you previously described the relationship at that time as a fairy tale?
Back then, yes.
Okay. Perfect?
Yes.
Inseparable?
Yes.
Okay, so the two of you were together quite a lot during that time frame. Yes.
Yeah, I basically lived there.
Okay, and so you spent most of the time that you were together over at his place?
Yes.
And is that the place on Whale Harbor?
It is.
Okay. And did the relationship change at some... Well, before we leave that, when the bump occurred on April 19th, 2016, did Mr. Adelson, tell you about the bump?
No.
All right, so at some point, did the relationship change around this time frame, April of 2016?
I can't say exactly like when it changed because we've had a lot of ups and downs, but I mean, it did change, so I don't know when exactly it was.
Okay, I want to draw your attention specifically to the time frame between April and May of 2016. Are you able to tell the jury about some changes you observed in Mr. Adelson's behavior during that time frame?
I don't know, like, if it was in that time frame exactly.
Okay, do you recall giving a law enforcement interview in this case?
I do.
Okay, and that was done on July 24th of 2018?
Right.
Would your memory have been better back then on these issues, as far as the dates that things happened?
Does it say what date? Like, they didn't ask me specifically when, how he was acting when. So I don't know exactly what they meant, like how he was acting, what time.
Okay.
Read and right. Thank you for the coffee this morning.
So you didn't tell them that he began to freak out around that time and act sneaky and go places without telling you where?
I said that. I just don't know at that specific time frame if that was referring to that. Like
Okay.
right now, I really have no idea right now.
Okay. At some point, did a reporter approach you in Mr. Adelson's driveway?
They did.
All right. And was that the first that you learned about this murder?
Yes.
So Mr. Adelson had never even told you during your serious relationship with him that his brother-in-law had been murdered?
He mentioned that he'd been murdered, but there were no details. It was just, he said, we don't know who did it, and this would happen, so.
Okay. So do you know when this reporter approached you?
Like what time or when?
Was it approximately around June 17th of 2016? Does that sound right?
It was right after, like, I think a political holiday, because I had a Band-Aid on my arm from a burn that we went to at a barbecue, and it was embarrassing that they took a photo of me with it. So I remember that I still had that Band-Aid on my arm. So it might have been around May or something.
All right.
Maybe Memorial Day.
Are we sure it was in 2016?
Well, there's a picture, like, the reporter has on the internet. So whenever that article came out, it would be then.
Approach and show you an article and ask if this is the one you're referencing.
Yes, so there's the Band-Aid on my arm, as you can see.
All right, and what is the date of that article?
That says June 17th. So when is Memorial Day, May?
Yes. What is the year on the article?
2016.
Okay, so can we agree it was approximately in June of 2016 that you got approached?
I believe it was May, but I think they published the article in June. But yes, around June, May, June.
I thought the reporter had the article with them when they approached you. Is that not the case?
No, I mean the photo. Like, he made that article and posted it, like,
from the interaction.
Story. Yeah, from, I guess, our candid shot or whatever.
All right, so maybe you were approached in May and then the article came out in June.
I believe that's correct, yeah.
Okay, and that was when that reporter approached you, that was when you found out that there was this whole backstory to this murder that may involve Charlie Adelson.
I actually didn't find out at that moment. They like ran up to me asking if I'm Catherine, and I had no idea who that was. So I didn't even know who they were.
How come you didn't know who Catherine Maganoa was?
Not at all, no.
All right, so is that the first? Did you eventually find out who she was after you learned that name from the reporter?
Yes, eventually.
Who was she?
She was Charlie's ex-girlfriend, and she also worked for another friend of mine at the front desk.
And who's that?
Jerry Obed.
All right. And what was she working for Jerry Obed at the time that you learned about her, I guess? Learned of her existence?
No, so I guess I met her in the front of Jerry's place once briefly, and then when I heard of her, my mind went back to that day, but I had no idea, like, her name or anything back then.
All right, so you were confused in May of 2016 for her by a reporter, yes? Right. And then you learned, oh, she was an ex-girlfriend of Charlie Adelson, right?
Eventually, yeah.
Okay, and then subsequent to that, you realized, oh, that's the girl that used to work for Jerry Obed.
Yes.
Okay, I'm with you. All right, once you found out about this sort of backstory to this homicide and investigation, did the defendant Mr. Adelson tell you anything about how to handle the police if you were to be approached by the police?
He said if anyone came knocking on the door asking questions, I don't know anything, and at that time I really didn't know anything still, so.
So he told you not to talk to the police?
Right, because I think he had to go away that weekend or week, and I was at the house by myself, so.
And had he been acting strangely for weeks before that article was published? And again, that article was published June 17th, 2016.
I believe so.
All right, tell us what acting strangely means.
I think I said it in my interview that he would kind of run off to places without really giving me an explanation. We kind of had a routine going. We would work, go to the gym, and then every night usually see each other at a certain time. But it was getting to the point where like he was running late or things were happening, and I didn't really know the reason. And also, I think I just felt like something was different in our relationship.
And did you notice that he had begun communicating with Catherine Magbanua around that time?
Around.
Jessica W. bought a coffee. Thank you for going through this again. Thank you for being here with us, Jessica. Thank you.
Sorry, the time, which
the
time
2
was
weeks prior to the publication of that article, which was published on June 17th, 2016.
2 weeks before that. I can't remember exactly when I found out about Catherine Magbanua. Like, I know it was after May. So if it was in that 2 week period before the article came out, then...
Did you say in your interview with law enforcement that in that time frame you saw him going back and forth with Katie on the calls, like, and I said, oh, why do you guys talk so much? And also you were commenting about the calls being at odd hours and how you know he's not normally up that early, and that's when you saw the call activity on his phone. Do you remember telling law enforcement that?
I remember saying I saw her name come up or something at some point in time. Again, I don't know if that is the same time, around that time. And also the odd hours thing, I was referring to another girl, I think, that lives in Philippines.
Okay. I'm going to draw your attention to page 72.
I don't have a binder.
I'm going to bring you one. Page 72, lines 7 through 22 on your interview. This is a mini, but this is 72 here.
So, okay, so
let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Are you still maintaining you were referencing another woman in that comment, or were you talking about Catherine Magbanua?
So in that comment, I actually was referring to when I found out the phone records of Catherine and Charlie, like, speaking in the morning when they showed how often they would speak on the phone.
All right, thank you. Did Mr. Adelson ever express any interest in or curiosity to you about who had killed his brother-in-law?
He just said he didn't know who did it, and it was just like an unsolved blank mystery.
I'm going to ask you to look at page 34. 34 of that same mini transcript in front of you, and if you'll review lines 10 through 15. And just let me know when you're done. Back when this interview,
I see it.
and didn't you tell law enforcement back when this interview was conducted, quote, if it wasn't him, he never said, oh, I wonder who killed Dan. Or like if it was just him saying, just like fearing, like he used to have like clothes by his bed in case they came to get him and stuff, like in the middle of the night. He was just very scared that they would come and take him. Is that what you said?
So I was saying...
Ma'am, is that what you said?
Well, no, I didn't say that exactly.
Okay.
I said, he never said he wondered who
You've
killed
answered the
Dan,
question.
Don't speak over each other.
This is Georgia just getting frustrated.
Please wait for her to ask you a question, then answer it.
So the transcript is incorrect.
Judge, improper question. Objection.
Overruled.
Is the transcript incorrect? That's
as
a yes
opposed
or
to
no.
your question, or you mean in general?
The question I asked you. I
It
just
doesn't
read from
match
it.
up to your question, no.
Judge, may we read the sidebar?
I'm going to request that we not go to sidebar. I have another question to ask the witness.
Very well.
Sit down, biatch.
Did Mr. Adelson ever express any sympathy regarding the death of Dan Markell in your presence?
I mean, yes.
I'm going to turn your attention to page 84 of the transcript, lines 23 and 24. 4, lines 23 and 24. I'm sorry.
You mean section 84? Or?
No, ma'am. It's page 84. I think I've got the lines wrong. Let me just take a look. I need to back up a little for context. Didn't you tell law enforcement? That's what was weird to me. I'm always like, well, if you didn't do it, then who do you think did it or something? And he wouldn't ever like show any sympathy or anything.
I don't even see page 84.
All right, thank you. What about, let's go back to Catherine Magbanowa. Did you ever actually meet her or just knew that she worked at Obed's office?
I mean, she greeted me when I walked in the door there, so I met her as like somebody walking in really quick.
Okay, but never hung out with her socially or?
No, I don't even think I spoke to her really.
Okay.
The amazing KTG, $21 Cash App for 21K. Wish it was 21,000. Thanks for being you. Thank you so much, KTG, who's always in here. Sometimes she's lurking, but she's always around, and she's always so supportive. Thank you, KTG.
Was Catherine Magbanowa, if you know, the girlfriend that was right before you with Charlie?
I'm sorry, what?
Was she the girlfriend that preceded you or was right before you?
No, I didn't even know about her. There was another girl before me.
Who was the girl that was right before you?
That I know of, it was Whitney Kick.
How long did he date Whitney Kick?
So initially when I met Charlie in February, I don't know if it was February around then, he was with Whitney at that time, so I think he broke up with her a little before we got together. So
was there anybody else between Catherine Magbanowa and you other than Whitney Kick, to your knowledge?
There was.
Okay, who was that?
Someone named Jessica.
Okay. Did you ever know of Catherine Magbanowa to be employed working for Charlie Adelson?
No.
During the time frame of the bump, so the bump in April, but prior to Ms. Magbanowa's arrest in October, was the defendant picking up communication with Catherine Magbanowa? Did you notice that he was communicating with her more?
I don't know if it was that time frame, like I said.
During this time frame that I'm talking about, did the defendant express concerns to you that his phone was being tapped?
I mean, it was probably during that time frame, but he did say that at some point. So.
Were you still dating the defendant at the time that Catherine Magbanowa was arrested on October 1st of 2016?
Yes.
What was the defendant's behavior like after her arrest?
I mean, I think around that time, the media got a hold of the story, so there was...
That's not my question. What was the defendant's behavior like after Catherine Magbanaw's arrest?
Well, I guess his behavior was just someone that's being convicted of murder. Or not convicted, accused of murder, I'm sorry.
All right, was he, quote, very scary to be around?
I mean, I might have said that.
You might have said that, or you did say that?
I think I did say that because we had a fight, so I was afraid one time.
Was he, quote, just like angry and different?
I guess he was, yeah.
Was he violent, agitated, and short-fused during that time frame?
I believe so.
Did he have trouble sleeping or being alone? Didn't want to be home? Do you recall saying that?
Yes.
When the case came up, did everything just tick him off?
Yes.
Did he start getting really red and screaming and take random walks, like just acting like a crazy person?
Yes. Yeah.
Did he get a second phone around this time frame and possibly even a third phone?
I saw one other phone. I don't know about a third. So.
Did he start communicating with you via the WhatsApp application?
He did. He started that because he was also out of the country once, so we started using it then.
Did he sleep with a gun at night? In that time frame specifically?
So when you say sleep, do you mean like physically in the bed or?
You tell me. Where was the gun?
He had guns because he had his carry license, so he had a few at different places. So in his bedroom.
But specifically in this time frame, did he change his habits in reference to the gun?
No,
so
not
he didn't,
that I know of.
Okay, so he didn't begin sleeping with a gun under his pillow or near his bed where he hadn't before?
Not sleeping with it, like it was in the room though, so I don't know.
All right, was he super stressed and very affected by the arrest of Catherine Magbanowa?
Yes.
But not super stressed and very affected, from what you observed, by the death of Daniel Markel, was he?
I have no idea about that.
Well, you said he wasn't.
Where is that?
In the interview that we just reviewed.
I mean,
where
what
you
line
said,
is it?
God, she's frustrating. George is losing her. George is like, I gotta go back to this fucking thing.
84, lines 23 and 24, which we've already done. I think you couldn't find page 84.
No, but I think I know what you're talking about. I think I was speculating on it. He didn't say.
He wouldn't show like any sympathy or anything, right?
I mean, that was my opinion, but I have no idea if he did or not.
Well, the question was, did he express it to you?
I think his actions did, but he didn't physically, like, verbally say it.
His actions expressed grief over the death of Dan Markel? What were those actions?
Well, I mean, just somebody concerned, upset over this tragedy and...
Yeah, see, this is total bull. I don't believe this for a fucking second.
Everything.
But that's the opposite of what you told law enforcement in your law enforcement interview.
Well, that was...
It's wild. It's wild how she flipped from her statement from between her statement that she gave to the police to this, how much she has flipped what she's saying.
It was like a long time ago.
It was a long time. Oh.
Has your memory improved since 2018?
Regarding what?
This incident and Charles Adelson's lack of remorse over the death of his brother-in-law?
So after that, after whatever I said, obviously it's been a lot of years, so he probably expressed sympathy after I said that.
All right. What about his mother, Donna Adelson?
He probably expressed sympathy after I said that. So when he knew about the death, he didn't express any. But after your police interview, he expressed sympathy. I mean, come on, madam.
Did you know her?
I did.
How was she holding it together during this time frame where the bump was occurring, after the bump occurred?
I think she was also stressed out.
Did you observe her to be crying or appear as if she had been crying?
I've seen her like that before, yes.
Did she tell you she was on painkillers for stress?
She may have, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Did you notice that Donna Adelson was really involved with her grandchildren?
I believe she was.
And was that Wendy's kids?
Yes.
Specifically? Did Donna Adelson ever express any concerns to you about who killed Dan Markel?
No.
Did you say to law enforcement that the Adelsons weren't ever curious, like who really killed him? They weren't upset about it, it seemed like. Did you say that?
I might have said it.
Page 50, lines 19 through 23.
Okay, so what were you asking? I'm sorry.
Did you say, quote, like they weren't ever curious, like who really killed him? They weren't upset about it, it seemed like.
I did, and I was speculating again, so.
Did the defendant ever say anything about something he did coming back to him?
Where is that?
Why don't you...
Did you hear that deep sigh from Georgia? Going back to that deep sigh. Oh, Mr. C with the $10, $9.99. Thank you, Super Chat. Thank you so much, Mr. C. All right, everyone, listen to this loud sigh from Georgia.
Where is that?
Why don't you answer the question first?
Wait, what was... You said something coming back to him? What do you mean?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, did the defendant ever tell you about something bad he did coming back to him?
I think he was referring to a horoscope.
Yes, tell us about that, please.
From what I recall, I think we were just reading horoscopes, and I don't even remember at this point. I'd have to look it up again, but...
Page 109.
Okay.
Did you review this transcript this morning before your testimony today?
I reviewed it beforehand in the email that you sent. So which line was it?
Page 80, I'm sorry. This is page 109, line 9, through page 110, line 1. And the question is, did you say that the horoscope was something about something you did in the past will come back and take a big toll on your life? And he said, quote, "Isn't that so true? Wow, that's on point," or something.
Yes.
Was this before or after the arrest of Catherine Magbanua?
I really don't remember that part.
Did you ever ask him about what happened to Dan Markel?
I did, yes.
And what did he tell you?
Well, he told me he was shot and they didn't know who did it.
Okay. What about Wendy Adelson? Were you ever around her during the time that you were dating her brother?
Yes.
Did she ever express any concern to you about the murder of her child's father?
I don't really remember too much of it.
Did the topic come up at all regarding
I think a topic about her being a single mother came up, and that's all I remember.
Did she make a comment to you that things were still hard for her even though Dan was gone?
Did she make a comment, you're asking?
Yes.
I think it was something along the lines of that, if I remember.
And did, at some point, Charlie Adelson tell you that he and Wendy were actually fighting about this case?
He mentioned that at some point in time.
And was Wendy not speaking to the defendant for some period of time because of something to do with this case?
I don't know, like, how long the time was, but I believe, yes, she wasn't speaking to him at one point.
And did you know what the thing having to do with this case was that caused them to not be speaking?
I have no idea.
During the time that you were dating Charlie Adelson, I think you said you would stay over there at the house in Whale Harbor. Was that every night or most every night?
Every night. Maybe one night, like, we missed, like, or if he was out of town, then.
During the time that you were over there, did you have an opportunity to observe large amounts of cash in his residence?
I've seen cash there. So.
All right. And are you aware of a large safe that's there in the residence?
There is a safe.
Okay. And during the time that you were dating him, did he have money in that safe, cash?
I believe so.
All right. And did he have thousands and thousands of dollars, stacks of hundreds? Did you say that?
I believe at one point in time.
Did you say, quote, hundreds are like dollars to him?
I did say that.
Did you say that, quote, all of his money is like stapled together, the hundreds in bundles?
I believe I did say that.
Do you need to review the statement?
No, I mentioned like the staples. I just don't remember the bundle part. Are those my exact words or?
Page 42, lines 22, I'm sorry, 42, lines 20 through 22.
Okay, I see it.
And did you say all of his money is like stapled? All of his money is like stapled together, the hundreds in bundles?
Yes.
After your breakup with Mr. Adelson, has he made any large purchases on your behalf?
I don't know.
You don't know?
After our breakup?
Yes, like has he bought you a big ticket item? A car? A condo?
No.
Has anybody tried to tell you what to say here today?
No.
Has anybody...
Just myself.
Has anybody told you, I don't know, to forget what you said in that interview? Did anybody instruct you to do that, is my question.
No.
One moment, please, Your Honor.
Is there any water around?
You know now. You'll be off the witness stand soon.
Okay, thanks.
No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Finish that whole water bottle.
Right there. Good afternoon. My name is Dan Rashbaum.
Hi, good afternoon.
Have we ever met before?
No.
Have you ever seen me before in your life?
I saw you on the internet, but no, never in person in my life.
Fair enough. Have I ever talked to you on the phone?
No, I got a subpoena from you the other day to attend trial here, but I've never physically heard from you.
Has anyone from my office, my colleague Kate Myers, anyone from my team at all ever reached out to you about anything?
No.
Okay.
I was actually surprised you didn't get a depo or anything from me, so.
I never deposed you, right?
No, I haven't heard from you or Charlie or anyone.
Okay, so let's just make that clear. Let's clear up a couple other things. Professor Markel was murdered in 2014.
Right.
Did you know Charlie Adelson in 2014?
No.
You didn't start dating him until, I think you said, give or take, October of 2015, right?
That's right.
Gonna put this on 1.25 because I just can't handle the two of these fucking jabronis.
Right.
Okay. So any type of feelings he had about the murder of Professor Markel in 2014, you wouldn't know anything about that, right?
Right.
Okay. We're going to do a little bit more of this in a little bit, but that time period that Miss Kappelman was asking you that you were confused about where Charlie was acting odd.
Right.
You know what the bump is, right?
The Donna thing, the extortion.
Where law enforcement approached Donna Adelson on the street.
Yes.
You probably watched it on TV.
Yes, everywhere.
Right. And you know there was a wire involved in that, correct?
I do.
And that's the point in time that Charlie Adelson was acting kind of weird, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Let's go back a little bit. When you dated Charlie, did you go out a lot when you were dating?
It was like 50-50, but yes, in the beginning we went out a lot. Every weekend, if we could do nights sometimes too.
Did he work a lot?
A lot.
He started early in the morning and came home late at night a lot of days?
Almost pretty much every day, but like Sunday and Saturday sometime. Saturday, Sunday.
And he worked most of the time 6 days a week?
Yes.
And his work would take him all over the southern part of the state, right?
Right.
He'd be in the car a lot, right?
Yes.
When he dated you and he was in the car, did he bother you a lot by calling you all the time while he was driving?
He knew I was at work, and we would see each other before leaving the house, and then when we got back, so he didn't have a need to really call me on his way to work. He would text me, and we would text sometimes throughout the day if I had a chance.
Now, you said Charlie keeps a lot of cash at his house, right?
I probably said that, yes.
Okay. And he staples his cash, correct?
That's what I saw, yes.
Okay. And again, you saw this cash at his house in 2016, right? When you dated him, well after the murder.
Oh, yeah, well, way after that, yeah.
Now, there was this discussion about a gun and sleeping with it. He keeps a gun in his nightstand next to his bed, right?
Right.
Are you aware that habit started?
Oh, man. Joanne says, Mr. Jedi just called and the doctor said he's doing great. No troubling signs, no evidence of disease. Good news and next appointment in 4 months. Cancer treatment sucks, but there is hope thanks to doctors and science. Send all the love to Mr. Jedi. We love to hear that. Amazing news, Joanne. Amazing.
On July 18, 2014?
I have no idea.
But ever since you knew him, he kept a gun on his nightstand, right?
Not on it.
In the drawer in his nightstand, apologies.
I think it was in his safe and in the car. Okay. But
by the way, his house has a lot of camera equipment, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of camera equipment, right?
Yes.
Are you aware that camera equipment was installed within 2 weeks of Professor Markel's murder? Are you aware of that?
No.
But it was there when you were there, correct?
Right.
How about the barbed wire behind his house? He has barbed wire, right?
Yes.
Are you aware that that was installed after Professor Markel's murder?
No.
Did you ever go to the Adelson Institute?
I did.
Did you see all the camera equipment there?
I didn't notice.
Just real quick, because a few people have asked. Yeah, if you missed some of my other streams, I had to start looking for a job because the 401k money I took out is depleting rapidly, and I should be getting an offer letter soon for a 9-to-5 job that I should be starting the Tuesday after Labor Day, tentatively. So unfortunately, I won't be able to go to Donna's trial, and I won't be able to live stream Donna's trial, which was a kick in the gut, but I got to do what I got to do. Got to take care of my family. So what I plan to do is nightly recaps every day because I can't catch it live. I hope to have guests like, Josh Ritter, Babe will be on, Katie Bogenschutz, hopefully Jared. I'm going to reach out to all the people, Yindra Velasquez, all those people, and do nightly recaps because I unfortunately can't cover it live. So just FYI.
Now, I think you talked about this, that there were a lot of, that media was starting to come around, right?
Yes.
And this was in 2016 after the bump and after some arrests.
Right.
And after the Tallahassee Police Department released an affidavit saying that Charlie Adelson was part of the murder. Do you recall that?
Right.
And you asked him, and he said he didn't do it, right?
Hearsay.
Sustained and self-certain hearsay.
That's right.
Move to the jury or to disregard.
Last question by Mr. Rauschbaum. Please continue.
Did Ms. Kappelman just ask you whether you asked Charlie Adelson about the murder?
Not in the same context, but yes, basically.
Judge, may I go sidebar? I want to make sure I don't step on it.
This bitch always wants to go sidebar. Oh, let's do some shots. Haven't done shots in a while. Thank you, Sheila. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
This way.
You may continue with your examination.
I mean, ultimately, my goal was to try to push off the job until after Donna's trial. It just didn't work out. Excuse me.
Let me ask it this way. After you asked Charlie Adelson if he knew anything or participated in the murder, did you continue to date him?
Yes.
Did you continue to stay at his house almost every day?
Yes. We were every day until we broke up.
You didn't have any worry about your safety, right?
No.
By the way, during this time period...
Oh, can I interrupt you? Sorry. I did have a worry about...
Hold on.
Oh.
They're going to need to ask you the question. You just don't need to start off with statements unless it's clarifying the last question.
It was clarifying it.
Then you may clarify your answer as to the last question.
So, I'm sorry, the last question one more time because now I forgot it.
Please ask again.
I have forgotten it as well.
Did you continue to stay at his house and spend time with him, I believe that was the question.
Now I remember. Okay, you asked if I felt safe. So at one point in time, he was getting death threats and all this stuff. So at that time when we were together, I kind of felt unsafe with people recognizing us or something like that.
Did you ever feel unsafe? Do you ever think that Charlie Adelson was going to hurt you?
No.
Now, during the time after these media reports, etc., did Charlie take trips overseas?
Yes.
Did he always come back?
Yes.
Did he once tell you he wasn't... withdraw. Withdraw.
Oh, man, this is a nice comment from Irene. Jay and Chad, you all got me through some tough times when I got laid off in April. I chose retirement, scaled back my life, and focus on what makes me content. Well, I could say for all of us, we appreciate you being here with us and part of the community very much. So that's very nice, Irene. Hope you're doing okay.
Ms. Kappelman asked you about how he was angry, how he was upset. Do you recall those questions?
I do.
At that time, there were Dateline specials being aired, right?
Yes. More than Dateline, but...
And what was his reaction to these media reports?
I think he was just flustered and stressed out and a ton of different emotions.
Was he angry?
Yes.
Now, you were interviewed by law enforcement in 2018. I think that's what we established finally today, right?
Yes.
And your testimony then was essentially the same as it was today, correct?
My testimony, yes.
They asked you pretty much the same questions.
Yes. We just went over my transcript, basically. So.
That was in 2018. There's nothing today that they asked you is new from 2018, right?
No, my memory just didn't remember the dates, but no.
But their questions were the same. There's no new topic.
Right.
When was Charlie Adelson arrested?
I believe it was April 2022.
So 4 years after they asked you those very same questions, correct?
Correct.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
Thank you, couch juror. Thank you, couch juror.
One moment, Your Honor. Just double check. Charlie ever told you to lie?
Has he ever told me a lie?
Yeah.
Objection, hearsay.
I'm chewing gum now because Joanne, Jay, and J-Bo Nation have helped me get through many difficult days. My appreciation and gratitude can never be repaid. Love y'all. We love you, and just honestly seeing these messages and just thinking about the community that we've built here with all you wonderful people. It's just not something I ever thought when I started streaming trials that would be a thing, but it's pretty special, and I appreciate you all so very much.
He has, yes.
He's told you to lie?
Oh, I thought you said a lie.
Has Charlie ever told you to lie?
No, never.
No further questions.
Rerepresentation.
But he has told you a lie. He's never told you to lie.
Right.
So the defense was trying to get you to move the time period of when Charlie was acting crazy and angry to when the news articles were being published.
Right.
But in your law enforcement interview, you articulated that he had been acting weird for weeks prior to that first news article. Isn't that right? And you didn't know why.
That's what I remember, yes.
Ma'am? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And did they raise, didn't he tell you, he didn't have anything to do with it. Did he tell you that he had purchased a vehicle for Ms. McBano or given her a vehicle?
He didn't tell me, but I saw that in the 2020 thing and asked him about it.
Okay, and he admitted he gave her a vehicle.
He said his father, it was an old car that his father
Did he give her a vehicle?
I don't know.
Did he mention giving her or contributing to a breast augmentation for Catherine Magbanua?
He said he never contributed to that.
If you'll look at tab 1 of the binder in front of you, the trial on May 23rd, 2022 should be your first tab. And if you'll look first on page 1197.
Welcome, Nay. Welcome.
Lines
We
19 through 24.
There's nothing more that we love than when we get new people to the community who get what we're trying to do here. So welcome. Welcome to all the new folks, too. Jill Jane, 549.
Yes,
Canuck Bucks. Thank you so much, Jill. Missy Mayhem says, I love JBON community so much. You guys are just the best. Thanks for making this place, Jay. Thank you, Missy, for being here and helping us and being so supportive. Thank you, Missy, and hope everything's okay with you.
Can you say the lines again? What were the lines?
Yes, ma'am. It's 1197 is the page, and the lines are 19 through 24.
Right.
Did you previously testify? Question. Did he put you on the payroll at the Adelson Institute after you broke up? No. Do you recall him telling you that he gave Catherine Magbanua a car? Answer, I do. Page 1216.
That's what he said, yes, at the time.
And would you turn to 1216 now?
I'm there, yes.
Oh, okay. And in that testimony, did you also testify? Question. So now your testimony is that he told you he paid for half of her breast augmentation.
He said that at one point, but I think it was a joke.
No further questions.
You may step down. Will the witness be recalled by the party?
Yes, sir. Judge, we do have her on a subpoena, so there's a possibility.
George is like, I never want to speak to her again if I don't have to. All right, now at this point, I forget if they catch it on camera, but I believe June says something to Charlie. Was it like happy birthday? Someone in the chat, I'm sure knows, but I'm pretty sure June says something to Charlie. Watch, but I don't remember if it's on camera.
Please call your next witness. Yeah.
But wait. But before she does, June has like a fucking June has like her purse and an overnight bag. Watch this fucking thing she gets out of the chair. Watch this. Wait.
Please call your next witness. Yeah.
Look at this fucking bag. Good morning, Karen. Oh, there it is. And Wendy is back. Wendy Adelson is back because they needed to get more information out of her because they kind of messed up. Wendy is back. Witness Satan. Is she wearing the same thing as the day before? No, I think she changed it a little bit.
Ms. Adelson, we've got 2 points we need clarification on from you. When we talked about your relationship with Jeffrey Lacasse, we talked about a occasion on July 13th, 2014. It would have been the Sunday before the murder. And on that occasion, did you, at your residence that evening, in the context of discussing the relocation issue involving you and your children moving to South Florida, did you say that Charlie, your brother, this defendant, had explored all options to resolve the problem, including hiring a hitman, and it would cost either $15,000 or $50,000?
No.
And did you have a conversation with Jeffrey Lacasse at your residence that night where you said you wanted to share something in confidence with him?
No.
Let me be clear. If you're telling me to believe Wendy Adelson about this or Jeff Lacasse, I will believe Jeff every single fucking time. She is lying right now. She is bald-faced fucking lying, in my opinion. KTG says, Jay, thank you for getting me out of my head and getting me through some sucky times, and this is definitely the best chat ever. I appreciate all you peeps, too. You're all beautiful souls. We appreciate you so much, KTG. Thanks for being here.
Did you ever say that your brother had seriously hired a hitman where you weren't repeating the joke? You were serious. All right. And second point for clarification involves that dinner where you got sick at the dinner table. You recall which evening I'm speaking of?
I do.
This would have been about 2 weeks to a month after the homicide, I believe. Okay. And on that occasion, did you ever tell Jeffrey Lacasse that Charlie had referred to the dinner as a celebration dinner?
No.
Did you ever tell Jeffrey Lacasse that it was a celebration dinner?
No.
No further questions.
Cross-examine.
Very briefly. Good afternoon. During your interrogation, do you recall Jeffrey Lacasse's name coming up?
Yes.
And do you recall that it was Jane McPherson who brought up his name, not you?
Yes, correct.
And do you recall, as a result of his name being brought up, he was considered a suspect?
Yes.
And do you recall that Detective Isom asked you a lot of questions about him?
Yes.
And he asked you about his car?
Yes.
And he asked you about his travel schedule?
Yes.
And he asked you for his information so that he could speak with him, correct?
Correct.
But you didn't bring up his name, right?
No.
You didn't try to frame Jeffrey Lacasse for any murder, right?
Absolutely not.
In fact, Jane McPherson was the one who brought up his name, correct?
She was.
I have no further question.
Please approach.
Oh, what? Sorry, just had to turn on the air conditioner. Was it a sidebar? All right.
But Jeffrey Lacasse's name did come up while you were in the interview room being interviewed in reference to the shooting, right?
Jane McPherson brought him up.
She was in the room with you during the interview?
For some of it, not for the whole time.
Okay, but during the part where Jeffrey Lacasse's name came up, she was in the interview room with you?
Yes, she brought him up.
And this is the same interview that we've referenced previously where you were taken from the restaurant to be told about what happened with Dan?
Yes.
Nothing further.
You may step down, ma'am. Will Miss Adelson be recalled by either the state or the defense again?
Certainly hope not, Your Honor.
I missed that. I gotta put this back on regular speed. I don't remember saying I certainly hope not. Oh, that's funny.
By either the state or the defense again?
Certainly hope not, Your Honor.
You remain under subpoena.
Georgia hates her so much. Oh, I love how much
Please call
Georgia
your
hates
next
her.
witness.
Jeffrey Lacasse.
It looks like Satan tries to look at Charlie there, too.
Please call your next witness.
Jeffrey Lacasse.
Jeffrey Lacasse coming back to tell the truth. And by the way, if you're not sure, if you aren't aware, every single trial, and I'm sure obviously this is strategically, every single trial, Wendy gets called first, and then Jeff gets called. So you can see the lies first, and then you can see the truth. And I don't care. I bet you ask all three of those juries who they believe more, Wendy or Jeff, and I would be willing to bet my house on it that they all believe Jeff more than they believe Wendy.
Mr. Lacasse, I want to take you back to July 13th, 2014. This is going to be
And again, this is additional testimony where you don't need Wendy to convict, to arrest her. This is damning testimony from Jeff about what she's about to say. If you're not familiar with this case, pay attention. What he's about to tell you.
The Sunday before the homicide that we're here about, did you see Wendy Adelson that evening at her residence here in Tallahassee?
Yes, after we returned from dinner and a movie, we went back to her residence. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And at some point that evening, did the issue of the relocation battle that was going on back in the summer of 2013 come up?
It did.
And is that the issue we've already touched on, which has to do with her wanting to move to South Florida with the children and filing a petition to do so in the courts?
That's right, and by extension, the issue of being stuck in Tallahassee.
Okay. And while discussing that issue, did Ms. Adelson make some statements to you about her brother Charlie?
She did.
And what were those statements?
She asked to speak to me confidentially in a very serious tone of voice, told me that Charlie had investigated all possible options to take care of the problem of Danny Markell, including hiring a hitman, which would cost about $15,000. And I later revised that and thought maybe it was $50,000, but the dollar amount was the only thing in question. She definitely said that Charles Adelson had looked into hiring a hitman to kill Danny Markell.
And again, if you watched my live I did where I read the reports from the inmates that Sigfredo was talking to, who from what I understand are on the witness list for Donna's trial, they said that he heard from Katie that the Adelsons had paid $50K for a hitman and they never did it, and they had to then hire Tuto and Tato. So that $50K adds up. It adds up to Wendy knowing. It all adds up.
When did she say Mr. Adelson had looked into hiring a hitman?
When the relocation was denied the previous summer.
Okay. All right. And the dollar amount, so she either said 15 or 50, you're not sure which?
That's correct.
Okay. And when she said this, what was her demeanor like?
She was very serious.
All right, so definitely not the to be confused with the TV joke?
No, I'd heard that joke repeatedly. I knew that joke. This was something very different. This was chilling, a little scary, made my stomach flip. I found it disturbing. The joke was said in a lighthearted manner, and this was not said in that way. This was serious and said confidentially.
All right, thank you. And I want to, okay, I think we should go from there to the next day, which is going to be July 14th, 2014, the Monday before the murder.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see Wendy Adelson on that day?
Yeah, I can't remember if I contacted her, if she contacted me, but she was excited to see me. And I wasn't so sure about that because the night before, we'd had an awkward conversation at the conclusion of that night, and I had told her that she didn't want to do this anymore, that she could just send me a text and I wouldn't take any offense. We would just break up. So I didn't get that text. Instead, I talked to Wendy Adelson, and she was excited to see me.
All right, so what did you do?
Well, then she needed to call me back, and it went from her enthusiasm about seeing me to let's just meet at yoga tonight, go in separate cars. So there was a real shift in about 30 minutes.
Did you go to yoga?
We did. We went to yoga.
All right. And after yoga, was there a discussion about your relationship and the status of your relationship?
Yeah, a very brief one. I mean, yoga's not a great place to talk, obviously. So while we were sitting there, she seemed very cold, and I kind of got the feeling that it was over, that this was it. So as we walked to the car, I tried to talk to her about the relationship, and that didn't go well. And so I just kind of put up my hands and walked away, feeling sad that this was it.
All right. And as you walked away, was that the...
All right, this is it. This is my pinned tweet. This is my pinned tweet on Twitter. I'm going to put this back to normal speed. This, to me, is so proof that Wendy was involved. And if you believe Jeff Lacasse, you have to believe Wendy was involved. If you haven't heard this already, listen. If you have heard, listen again. Just listen to this. So Wendy breaks up with Jeff. First of all, she could have just texted them and broken up. But she decides to have a weird yoga date with him, and then she breaks up with him after they already were like almost broken up. Listen to this conversation. Again, if you believe Jeff, you have to believe that Wendy was involved. Listen.
And so I just kind of put up my hands and walked away, feeling sad that this was it.
All right. And as you walked away, was that the end, or was there more conversation after you began to walk away?
She called out to me, and I walked back towards her. And she was deeply curious. Well, let me back up slightly. During that conversation, she didn't have any interest in spending any time with me for the rest of the week. So it kind of confirmed, this is over.
Mm-hmm.
But then when she called me back, she had a series of detailed questions about what I would be doing on Friday.
And Friday is going to be July 18th, right?
Yes.
And that's the date of the homicide?
That's exactly right.
What were her inquiries of you regarding that date?
I had a trip planned to Tennessee. She was aware that I was planning to leave about 11 a.m. On Friday. I need to get to Atlanta for an early dinner, so with traffic, she knew I was departing at 11. And at the yoga studio in the parking lot, she had asked if I was still going. If I didn't go, why not? What route I would be taking. A lot of a bizarre amount of interest in that trip that didn't make sense to me at the time, given that she didn't want to spend time with me.
And how does it make sense to you now?
Well, if I had left on my trip at the scheduled time that she had known about for quite a while, I would have driven pretty close to Danny Markel's house about the same time as at the murder, in a similar looking car to the suspect vehicle.
So what other reason on this planet, other than setting up Jeff to be the patsy for this murder, would Wendy be asking those questions? Come on.
What type of vehicle did you drive?
I drove a 2004 Nissan Sentra that was silver metallic gray color.
So if you had followed your original plans, you would have been passing by the Markel residence or nearby there around the same time as the killers were fleeing?
Yeah, I would have been at Capitol Circle in Thomasville. Sure, I would have been on the same cell tower, for example. I think my life could have been pretty complicated had I taken my original plans.
All right, so you didn't, I guess, take the original plans?
No, I did not. I had made a last-minute decision the night before to leave Thursday night instead. I had not informed Ms. Adelson about that because we weren't speaking. Actually, no, I don't know that anyone, for sure that anyone in Tallahassee knew I had changed my plans, just the people at the other end.
All right, so you were actually in Tennessee at the time of the homicide?
I was.
And when we've heard you were called in as a potential suspect, and apparently named by a Jane McPherson. Do you know who that is?
I do.
Okay, who is that?
That was a friend of Wendy Adelson's, and she was a doctoral student in our program. I had not much of a relationship with her, just a kind of a working relationship. We'd worked on a couple projects together, but I didn't know her very well at all.
But someone that knew that you had been dating Wendy?
Yeah, I think she was a confidant of Wendy Adelson's, yes, for sure.
Okay. So you get called in, and were you able to provide documentation to show that you were in Tennessee and not in Tallahassee?
Yeah, I was excluded fairly quickly because investigators found Kmart surveillance footage of me at a Kmart in Tennessee using my credit card and my cell phone showing me there shortly after the murder, so it was impossible that I was the shooter.
All right, and then was there also some similar type coincidences around the time of the trip that the killers made in June?
Yes. On June 6th, I had a business trip to Gainesville, and I departed at 11 a.m. on a Friday, June 6th, which Ms. Adelson would have known about by March. So really, I take 2 trips out of Tallahassee in my car the whole spring and summer semester. And both times, hitmen try to kill Danny Markel.
Further evidence, how could 2 times he leaves? 2 times. Both times hitmen come. You don't think Wendy was involved?
Okay. Any further contact with Wendy after the yoga date?
We, about 10 days after the murder, she reached out to a mutual friend, and we had a few phone calls.
And during one of those phone calls, did you learn about a dinner where Wendy had become ill at the table?
Yes, I did learn about that.
And what did you learn about that dinner?
That she went out to dinner with Charlie for what he called a celebration dinner. He said something to her. She spontaneously vomited on the table.
And this would have been within how much time after the homicide?
Within a few weeks.
Was it specified that the celebration was in reference to Dan Markel's death as opposed to anything else?
Wasn't specified.
Okay. But whatever it was, that's the dinner where she vomited.
That's right. That's right.
1 moment, please. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Let's shift gears a teeny bit.
Okay.
When you and Miss Adelson were dating, there were occasions when she would drive, right?
Yes.
Did she have a good sense of direction?
Here goes Rauschbaum defending Charlie Adelson. No, he's defending Wendy again.
I don't know.
You're aware that when she was married to, she lived in Professor Markel, she lived on the house on Trescott, right?
Yes.
And when you were dating Wendy, would she often use Trescott as a shortcut to get from one place to another?
She used it a few times when I was in the car, if that's what you're asking. She did that on June 27th, the day we departed to Gainesville at 11 a.m. on a Friday.
I think you said in one of your interviews that she would do that at least 100 times, drive by the house.
That was a figure of speech.
Okay. Now, you mentioned, we'll start with the joke, the bad joke.
Yes.
Juke.
You mentioned this TV joke,
Juke.
how it was lighthearted. Bad humor, certainly in the context of what happened, but it was a joke.
Yeah, it was dark humor, I would say, but it was clearly a joke, yes.
And do you recall that joke being given at that Yardbird dinner?
I don't.
Could it have been given at that Yardbird dinner?
It could have, but I don't recall it, and I actually think I might remember that.
I'm sure you do.
Given what happened.
I think one thing that has been established is you believe that Wendy Adelson tried to frame you for Professor Markel's murder, right?
I'm suspicious that there was an effort made in that way, yes.
And so that has affected your viewpoint, correct?
Sure.
Well, let's talk about your viewpoint. And we have to go a little bit back and repeat a couple things to put it in context. So you meet with Charlie Adelson. He tells you that he's friends with people in the criminal element. You say, thanks for a great meeting, correct? Send him a nice text.
The next day I sent him a text, yes.
You don't go to the police?
No, I don't go to the police.
Okay. You then hear that Charlie's made a joke.
By the way, just as a quick aside, for folks who didn't follow me, like during the trial when it was live, for a while there, I thought this young lady was wearing a gi, like a Cobra Kai outfit, but in fact, it's just a yellow lanyard with a black shirt. But I'm like, is she in Cobra Kai or some shit with that gi? But no, it's just a shirt and a yellow lanyard.
Many times about this TV being cheaper than hiring a hitman.
Heard the joke twice.
Okay. You don't go to the police?
No.
Then in June, at a time when Wendy Adelson is breaking up with you, she sits you down and she says, I have to confide the biggest secret in my life. That a year ago, my brother actually looked into hiring a hitman. That's your testimony here today, right?
You said in June, sir?
In June? I'm sorry, in July.
Okay.
In July.
Can you restate that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
I'm sorry.
I'll try to keep it lower this time. In July of 2014,
yes,
about a week before the murder, when you're breaking up with Wendy Adelson, or things are seriously not good, she sits you down and she says, Jeffrey, I've got to confide in you. My brother actually looked into hiring a hitman. That's your testimony here today.
No, she didn't sit me down. She said it in passing, and she had a habit of blurting out things that weren't in her own self-interest. But she did do that. She did make that statement, yes, sir.
And it was chilling to you.
It was.
Unlike the joke, you thought it was real.
It was real, yes.
Did you go to the police?
I did not.
And then you break up.
Kind of. She strung me along for another week, as you know. Mostly, yeah, but kind of.
Well, the murder happens, and you get called in as a suspect of the murder.
Right.
And you're upset at that point.
I mean, I like, a lot of times I like think to myself, let me give Rauschbaum the benefit of the doubt for some reason, because like he's just doing his job. But the way he treats Jeff infuriates me. It really does. And also the fact that he anyway, this really...
Yes, I was upset.
And you have a first interview with the police, and then you have a second interview with the police.
Yes.
And during the second interview with the police, you talked solely about Wendy Adelson.
Yeah, I think that's right. I felt like I needed to say they need to look at Wendy Adelson as well. That was the point of that talk. Yes, sir.
That was the point of that talk.
Yes.
And you don't mention actually Charlie Adelson at all in that second interview.
I already had done so yes, you're correct.
So that second interview, you talked just about Wendy Adelson. And in fact, you're so uncomfortable in the interview. You tell the police that. You say, I'm so uncomfortable, and Detective Isom asked you why. Do you recall that?
It wasn't a Detective Isom.
Okay, I'm sorry. The detective who was interviewing you asked you why.
I don't... You have to remind me on that.
Well, let me remind you what you said. You said, because it's hard for me, because if she would take me back right now, I would go back to her.
Yeah, I was still under her spell to some degree. I would say I was fairly pathetic at that point. I would acknowledge that. Yeah.
So let me understand.
So I mean, this is why Jeff Lacoste is just the best. He's so introspective. He's so self-aware. He just called himself pathetic. He admits it. He's not trying to hide anything. He's not fighting with him.
Understand this, because I want to make sure I've got it right. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Sure.
Wendy Adelson has told you that her brother looked into hiring a hitman sometime in 2013. He gets murdered.
He does.
You go to an interview, and during that interview, you're still thinking about staying with Wendy Adelson. You don't want to talk badly about her because you still want to be with her.
You're talking about this July 23rd interview specifically?
Yes.
Yeah, it only been a week. It was still pretty fresh. I was still pretty mixed up. That's right.
Okay, well, let's see how mixed up you were after that. So then you're clearly broken up at that point. We can agree, right?
Actually, I would say yes functionally, but I've testified before that Miss Adelson and I had conversations in August where she behaved as if we were still together, and we had a conversation that finally ended it, initiated by me. Now, practically, we were broken up.
You never dated, you never went on a date with her again, right?
I never saw her again in our courtroom, right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Then she tells you, according to you, that my client, Charlie Adelson, says that she had a celebration.
The Sarah, Phil Markel is right here. Right over the Rationator's left shoulder.
Dinner with Charlie, and that the celebration dinner was about the murder of Professor Markel.
I don't recall saying that last part.
But that's how you took it, right?
I worried that was the case. I told the police, and my understanding is Wendy conceded she threw up on her dinner table.
Do you know that the first time you told the police that was in March of 2015?
I do know that.
So what happened in September of 14? What happened in October of 14? What happened in November of 14? What happened in December of 14? January of 15? February of...
Again, just a reminder, folks, when we're getting angry at Rauschbaum, which I do as well, this dope with all these animations and all this shit he's doing right now resulted in his client getting convicted within 2 hours and 30 minutes for Chick-fil-A.
15. You still didn't think that was important to tell the police?
I'm happy to answer. I think you deserve an explanation on that. You may have noticed in my March 6, 2015 interview, I come in with notes, big pile of notes. Those notes are written in July of August. They're written pretty quick after the murder. I didn't come in right away, partially because I was scared of your client. I was scared of the repercussions if I went on the record further about my suspicion. So I was reluctant to come back in because I was frankly scared.
Oh, I get it. You were scared of him in August of 14, but you weren't scared of him in March of 2015.
I decided to man up. I decided it was a homicide and needed to man up. That's the decision I made.
Right. You weren't scared to tell him that my client had actually looked into a hitman a year earlier. That didn't scare you. You could tell him that in July.
No, I was.
Hold on, sir. Let me ask the question.
Fair enough.
In July of 2014, you told police that Charlie Adelson, you heard, actually looked at hiring a hitman. You weren't scared to tell him that.
I asked for police protection. I was scared.
You told them that in July of 2014. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
I mean, Rauschbaum's so animated, he has to get off the phone books and climb up on the podium.
The same conversation, I said, can I get some assurances? Can I get some protection? I have something I want to tell you. I'm scared to tell you.
But you were too scared to tell him about a celebration dinner comment, and you waited almost half a year to tell him?
Well, I did wait half a year to tell them, but the notes I brought in were written right after that interview. I also wanted to get my thoughts together because I thought this day might come. And I wanted, in those first two interviews, there was a lot going on. It's pretty traumatic, so I wanted to collect my thoughts. So that's what I was doing, in addition to being pretty frightened and having to get over that idea.
Isn't it true that those comments never happened and you're upset because you believe that this family tried to frame you for murder?
Everything I'm saying is true.
I'm sure it is. May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Move to strike the I'm sure it is comment.
Everything I'm saying is true.
I'm sure it is. May I have a
Oh, this is making me fucking hate him. Oh, what a dick. I'm sure it is. Fuck off, Rauschbaum, you piece of shit. I'm going to remember this because I've softened. Like, I've felt like I shouldn't hate him as much as I do, but now I really fucking hate him.
moment, Your Honor?
Move to strike the I'm sure it is comment.
I'll withdraw it.
It's withdrawn.
And again, Jeff, just a class act. Jeff just dealt that with the class act that he is.
Members of the jury.
Jeff Lacoste is a king. Like, king. Class act. Mensch. Great man.
Seem like a fine point, but I want to make sure it's crystal clear. When Mr. Rashbaum was asking you about the hot tub conversation, Mr. Rashbaum said that his client said that he was friends with people in the criminal element. Is that exactly what was said?
The word I recall is he had connections and friends on both sides of the tracks.
Okay. Connections to the criminal
elements. And
element.
particularly, there was the Cuban neighborhood comment that I repeated to the TPD later.
Gotcha.
Actually, on July 21st, first interview, I mentioned that comment.
Okay. How many pages of notes do you have in reference to this case?
Like right now or over the last 9 years?
I mean, kind of over the last 9 years.
Yeah. I'm a researcher by training. I'm an analytic person by nature. So those 6 months was pretty obsessive. I was reviewing every text message, every email, writing. I condensed it down. I think if you watch the videotape, you would see me bring in 3, 4, 5 pages. But I would say I wrote probably 100 pages before I came in to see them the third time.
Going through every receipt,
yes,
every detail,
yes.
Partially out of what? What motivation?
Well, pretty traumatic, so fear was part of it. Like, if they can catch the people that did this, I'll be safe. That was a big piece of it. Mm-hmm. Also, this was a brutal murder, and I wanted to see justice done, and I did not want to leave something sitting on the shelf. If I was in the possession of something that could help, I wanted to help.
And you did? Isn't it true that you didn't know what was going to end up being important out of all the nuggets you dug out of the phone and everywhere else?
I had no idea. And I also told them repeatedly, I hope and pray this wasn't Wendy and Charlie Adelson. But just in case, here's the stuff I have. And
Mr. Rashbaum asked you about why didn't you go to the police when you learned that Mr. Adelson had in fact looked into hiring a hitman. This, just to reiterate, the statement was made the Monday before the murder, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's the statement that where Wendy's relating it to you?
Yes.
All right, so that's going to be in 2014?
Yes.
Okay, and she's making a statement about something that occurred in what year?
2013.
All right, why didn't you go to the police with this information?
Because it was a past tense thing she was reporting. I did not sense there was a present danger. I didn't know Hitman had already visited Tallahassee. I didn't realize there was an active murder plot.
In hindsight, should you have gone to the police with this information?
Yes.
One moment, please. Nothing else, Your Honor.
The process and stuff down. Rashbaum, you have something to do.
Maybe go sidebar briefly.
Approach.
Of course, Rauschbaum's got to go fucking sidebar again. Jeff, we love you, Jeff. All right, I think I'm going to end this session here. Looks like we still have Ryan Fitzpatrick for today. Oh, and Tato. The next session will be Ryan Fitzpatrick and King Tato, Luis Rivera. So I'm going to end this now. Again, folks, if you're interested in at 12:30 Eastern, I will be covering Robert Tellis live. He will be doing a rebuttal. And if you saw his narrative on his main case, I'm sure it'll be bananas. He'll have his adult crayon, etc. And then there'll be closings. And then there'll be verdict watch. So this should take you to that stream. But I'll be... by the way, with Jeff, I always think about when all these trials are done, I hope that Jeff and Georgia and like the I feel like, you know, the prosecution team can't really talk to Jeff, and I'm sure they love him. I mean, they could talk to him, but not really like details about the case, because like I want them to have a nice dinner when they're all those people are in jail. Have a nice dinner with Jeff and like Georgia and Sarah. That would be nice. But anyway, thank you guys so much for the support today. Thank you for joining me on this rewatch. I will continue this rewatch next week and probably do maybe more time depending during the day. So my last week before I go back to the real world. So thank you all so much. Thank you so much for your support. And hopefully I see you at 12:30. If not, I'll see you hopefully next week. And thank you, mods, as always, for crushing the game. Best chat, best group in the land, best community. Thank you all so much. And I'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you for joining us, J-Bo Nation. Please give all of yourselves an ovation. No, it won't be real long until next time. Oh, J-Bo Nation, there's no place we'd rather be. J-Bo Nation is the place to be. J-Bo Nation is the place to be. J-Bo Nation is the place to be. J-Bo Nation is the place to